I'd been associated with Madame Tussauds in London, and they knew that I had had some experience with amusement rides. And they asked me if I would go to Chessington Zoo to, and in their words, sort out the funfair and the circus.
Chessington was still a zoo with a little bit of other stuff like Lady Banger's fairground collection of ornaments and carousels, but it certainly wasn't a theme park.
I put forward a scheme, and to my amazement, it was just accepted. You know, that I put forward a layout, and to this day, that basic master plan is what is on the ground at Chessington. Putting the runaway train where the old bear pit was, the only open flat field on the site, the football field, was ideal for a water ride.
From that time on, obviously Tussauds saw the potential for animatronics, and we decided that it would be good to incorporate it into some of the rides. And of course there was the dark ride, which became the fifth dimension, which was supposed to be a I'm not quite sure what it was supposed to be.
The fifth dimension is a little trip into the world of computers. It's all rather innocent, almost boring.
I knew nothing about the industry at all, really. But I knew about showmanship and I knew about storytelling.
The idea of a dark ride appealed to me because I had built some smaller dark rides before, and dark rides were a way of using special effects and illusions and real theatre. But instead of sitting your audience in a static seat, you trundled that seat around the stage in effect.
So here was a real job working as an AV technician at Madame Tussauds.
Madame Tussauds studios were a bit sniffy towards the idea of the theme park. It was a bit below them. They considered it a glorified funfair. But they did rather like the idea of doing a dark ride.
Theme parks were rather frowned and low art, and so I felt a bit embarrassed to say I was even working at a theme park. Yeah. But having said that, now, I mean, you know, it was a great art form, and I was working with some very talented people. We had some amazing talent at Tussauds. And dark rides we decided to do in-house. And the first dark ride at Chessington was the fifth dimension.
And so I designed the transit system first. So the idea of the vehicles stopping and turning, that came into my mind. And then maybe even being in a semicircle so that they could all turn and face one central point. Then presented that to Ian Hanson, who I'd been floating the idea to, and Ian Hanson was head of studios at Madame Tussauds.
Ian was sort of above everything as almost like a creative director, but his real role was in Studio One as a sculptor. He was a very accomplished sculptor.
And then he came up with the entire concept of the fifth dimension in conjunction with Douglas Adams, who was of course the creator of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They came up with this quite obscure story that really was very, very, very British in its humour, as of course the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we would like to assure you that there is nothing to be worried about. Absolutely nothing at all. Rumours that may have leaked out to the effect that there is a terrifying computer-created monster hiding out in the complex to which our customers are being sacrificed are completely fanciful, highly exaggerated, and probably not even true. Nothing nasty has been created in the area at all. And it certainly isn't eating visitors. Absolutely not. Just ignore it.
They were then left entirely to their own devices. So in other words, I provided a building and a transit system, and they then built the show, if you like.
Please, do not move backwards, but keep moving forwards in an eager, happy, carefree way. And once we've cleaned the slime from all the seats, we'll soon have you on your way.
So we had this very steep tunnel where the train runs up the track for quite a considerable amount of time.
We wanted to give people the impression that they were going into space. It wasn't really a rocket launch, but it was, that we just needed to get them into another dimension.
I asked Steve from the planetarium, I said, look, do you know how we could do something like this, create this tunnel effect? And he said, yeah, I can do it.
And Steve built a system of clustered eye-safe lasers to actually give us a laser cone in the smoke.
And then we hung this contraption, this Heath Robinson contraption, above the track.
I mean, this was all Heath Robinson stuff, but we were working on limited budgets. We used a lot of imagination. So we got some old arc line, which was a ribbed plastic tubing with strobe lights in.
Real tiny little holes, absolutely minute little holes in the pipe on one side to line up with the strobe lights themselves. Then we strung the lights, or inserted them into these pipes, and it bloody worked. It was just amazing. You just felt like you really were. These were little stars.
The red laser tunnel in the smoke, along with these flashing lights that were getting faster as you went up, gave this amazing illusion that you were, one, going up a very, very long incline, but also that you were travelling very quickly.
Oh no, not again! You're the third lost train today. Something really is going wrong, eh? You should all be having a nice time, riding around the computer world, not crashing through the giant computer screen. Look, this is the dark side of the computer where anything can happen, and almost certainly will. However, you're all extremely lucky because I happened to find you first. See, my name's Zappomatic 552. And I'm a fully automated computer troubleshooter, so you'll be safe as long as I ride along with you. If there's any bother, give a shout. I'll zap 'em out. Oh, one last little fiddly thing. If you happen to notice any killer robots or even a giant, green, slobbering monster with laser beam eyes and razor-sharp teeth, that's the one that ate the last trainload of people. You will let me know, won't you? Just wait tomorrow till I get the old Zapmobile started. Not yet, no, stop! I didn't say go. Hold on, wait!
We went on into the snow battle scene, which used an enormous amount of smoke.
There was a lot of animation involved. The smoke had to be moved around to different parts of the set, so we had explosions going on.
We were using so much smoke, obviously after 2 cars had been through, the whole building would have been full of it. One of the most spectacular effects in the whole ride that was never seen by the public was between the cars entering that area, these skylights opened up and then just sucked the smoke out with huge shafts of sunlight coming down.
Hi! Still in one piece then? That's more than I can say for a Zapmobile. Until I catch up with you, do your best not to fall into the slimy swamp. Right, everyone hold tight, and whatever you do, don't shout. If you don't keep quiet, the track gives way and drops you in the slime. Remember, whatever you do, don't scream.
Intruders! How did you get in? You look real.
You'll never get out, you know.
We eat anyone, even you. We're not choosy.
Relax, I'll give him a feel of my Zapmobile. Watch out for the giant green slimy monster.
We started to go down a slight incline there. There was a big mountain at one side that was populated with all the robots. They were a cross between robots and punks. Zap-O-Matic sort of flew to the rescue in the end. But a series of pneumatic cylinders that sort of fanned out, and his spaceship was on the end of it, and it flew out and across the end of the track, with him, firing away.
Has disturbed the peace of the giant queen, slavering non-stop.
Quick, look for the firing buttons in front of you. Now press the button and the gun will fire. We need more to press. We need more power. Come on, everyone. Hurry! How about that? We destroyed it. No problem at all. Look, you're all safe to go now. Just follow the trail of my Zapmobile and you'll find the way out. Be seeing you.
After you had the climax of shooting with your buttons, you said waved goodbye to Zap-O-Matic, who disappeared somewhere, and then you went through this final tunnel.
Bye now. I hope you all enjoyed the trip, and remember, when you shout, I zap 'em out. Yeah. Ta-da now.
What happened next was we all went home, we did the ride, we went back to the studios, and we didn't train the team down there, we didn't do anything, we were very, what's the word, we were very theatrical and darlings, we just did our stuff and that's all we have to do, and then we left and it's someone else's problem.
The infrastructure of the ride was excellent. The transit system was good. The building was good. We had a lot of money invested in that. And the show was, I won't say weak, but it was wrong. It wasn't working.
The balance between a good show and a bad show is a very fine line between good and absolute crap. If you start to lose the sync on the lip sync, if the animations start to look a bit woody, and start to jolt, then the magic's gone.
Also, the story was extremely obscure. People came out scratching their head saying, well, that was fun and it was quite spectacular, but we don't really know what on earth it was all about. The people that went on it liked it, but getting people in there was a real problem.
Oh, no, not again. It's probably nothing like that now. It is. 27 years ago.
Oh, no, not again. Something really is going wrong.
Well, one of the first things I remember is going on there and not having a clue what I was getting on.
They didn't know whether it was a simulator, whether it was a film show, whether it was a show. They just did not know what it was.
And there'd be a huge queue of people, as there always is for everything in a theme park. But people would stop you and say, do you know what I'm in the queue for? And they wanted to be reassured that they weren't in a queue for the toilet.
To be fair to the team that put it together, I mean, other than John, no one on that team really had any experience of building a dark ride. A lot of them didn't even have any experience of having seen a dark ride. So there was a huge learning curve there, and we didn't really know what we were learning.
The thing that struck me about it, the original version, was that it was so disjointed. There would be a scene, and then the train would go off, and it looked like it had run out of money until it got into the next scene.
You just came into a shed room, and there was a token little set in the corner, and that's how it was.
You got in that first scene, and it was very complete. You went round the corner. I believe it was from the intro scene to the snow scene. There was nothing between those two scenes. There was nothing. It really was a dark ride.
Next thing I know is, I think there was a paper going around from the head of studios saying that the theme park for Fifth Dimension ride at Chessington was a failure because the special effects had broken down. didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with the reason that the ride was a failure. So I went and saw Ray Barrett.
From what I gather from Dan, I mean, it had been a real political issue all the way through that ride, and that had obviously culminated in Dan leaving Two Swords and going off on a mission to finish it himself.
Muggins here, against the advice of everybody else at the studios, went to Chessington. Ray said, that's fine, you go down there, here's your budget. I said, look, we've got to treat these scenes, we've got to make sure that people are feeling immersed into this imaginary world. I think what the studios did was just amazing, from the creativity, the designs and so forth. What didn't work was the storytelling and the showmanship and the theatre.
Lots of the special effects were good. They were very convincing. They were quite spectacular. They were very high maintenance. If it had been done only a few years later, I mean, I note people keep saying, was it ahead of its time? Yeah. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But certainly from a technical point of view, if it had been done a few years later, many things would have been different, and it would have been a far more reliable ride.
So that was our aim in that refurbishment, was to really get the magic to work. And I keep using this word magic.
Basically, Two Swords had given us access to their recording studio from 6 in the evening till 7, 8 o'clock the next morning. So any work that was going to be done in audio was going to be done during the night.
I was sent in here to repair this TV set, but would you believe it? There's a gorg in here. It's hiding in one of the 5 dimensions from the video, and it's definitely not in this one. At least, I don't think it is. Now, if you can find the gorg, I can make a laser gun to destroy it. But only you have the power to fire the gun. Well, that's settled. Then I'll go to the workshop and get busy. And I'll leave you to find the gorg. It's out there, somewhere. I'm still building the gun, so you keep looking for the gorg and I'll catch you up. Well, I've made the gun so there's nothing to be afraid of.
You look real.
The pineapples, of course. Yes, I haven't seen that for a long time.
Oh no! Swamp spiders!
If you take the last scene where the punks are, the old problem was that the lights would come on and you'd see everything. Now, John Wardley is a master of this. It's about misdirection and illusion. So we did a new gorg and we completely represented that scene.
I think it was permanently there when you came into the scene, kind of relying on people not noticing it until the right time. Whereas the replacement, which was significantly bigger, as people were in the cars pressing the buttons, it came up blowing smoke out of its nostrils.
Quickly, follow me to safety! Get through that portcullis before you return to normal size. And thanks for your help! Come on. Why isn't this thing working? Hello? I need the robot rescue service, quick!
We sent the cars round full. People were coming out and they were cheering and they were clapping, and that just had me in tears because the magic was there. But of course, I'd come in 2 weeks later. The staff that had been on there were nowhere to be seen. These are the casual staff, summer staff, and there were people just letting the cars go in half empty or even empty, just a few people on. And they were coming out, and I went round the ride. There were doors open, casting light across the whole scenes.
The Fifth Dimension went on to be loved by those who rode it in its time. But did the park ever see success in such a unique ride?
It was much better tied together. I think it was a much more complete story. It was a much more complete ride.
Was it a success?
Yeah.
The answer is no, because it wasn't being run as a show. It was being run as a ride.
The general manager at the time went round, and as he got off at the end, I do remember he said, "I preferred it as it was."
We were close. We should have had somebody trained up from Disney who could come over and actually make sure that we didn't have to go through all this learning and make those mistakes, and that there was a team there that was dedicated to actually maintaining the show.
The ride was judged on crowds and how many people queued up to go on the thing, and I think that's where it was let down, because you could only sort of say, well, it's a dark ride, what, like a ghost train? Well, no, not really, not at all. It's more like a bit of theatre, and you go around in a car. It didn't really. There was nothing really to compare it against in 1988.
I come back to its showmanship. If you don't have that magic, and the word is magic, if you don't put the fairy dust onto the ride, it ain't going to work as a dark ride.
Now, I suppose, any dark ride is invariably a shoot-'em-up, or it puts you in front of a screen, which may be exactly what Two Swords would have set out to do in 1987 if you could have done that at the time. But I mean, instead you had to do these things the old school way and actually build a set and put people in it, and it was very impressive. I can totally understand how it would have inspired a lot of people to go on to theatre, set design, lighting design, and all those kind of things.